So, this comment goes on to say that they think that the labeling of autism as level 1, level 2, and level 3 autism is a gross oversimplification of the way the autism spectrum works. And on the one hand, I do sort of agree with that. Just hear me out for a second. I agree in some instances because I do think that a lot of people hear that there is level 1, level 2, and level 3 autism, and they just assume that that means that the autism spectrum goes from less autistic to more autistic, when in actuality, the autism spectrum refers to a spectrum of symptoms that each vary in severity from autistic person to autistic person. And this is where the labeling of level 1, level 2, and level 3 support needs is actually really important. Take, for example, my own autistic symptoms. When it comes to having a monotone voice, that symptom is very mild for me. I do not struggle with vocal inflections as much as other autistic people do. There may be times here or there when my voice forgets to put on sarcasm, but other than that, I can make my voice inflect in ways that some autistic people cannot. However, when it comes to being able to identify emotions that I am feeling within myself, my autism symptoms are pretty high for that one. I really struggle to identify my own emotions, let alone other people's emotions. And my ability to recognize other people's emotions is somewhere in the middle. I can recognize some emotions, but most of the time I'm just going based off of the emotions that I've memorized, as opposed to inherently knowing what those emotions mean. Now, when looking at my spectrum of symptoms overall, it becomes very clear that for most of my symptoms, the struggle for me is somewhere between mild and moderate. I don't really have a lot of symptoms that are severe for me. This here is why I am classified as a level 1 autistic. Now, when it comes to level 2 autistic people, their spectrum of symptoms may vary between moderate and severe, meaning they experience these things at a much stronger level than I do. And if somebody is a level 3 autistic, it's likely that their symptoms are pretty severe across the board, meaning that they find it more difficult than I do to navigate this world. I personally am not opposed to people who are educated about the autism spectrum and the way that it works using autism levels, because they're not referring to me being less autistic as opposed to somebody who is more autistic. They're just referring to the fact that my spectrum of symptoms are mild and not severe. So therefore, I don't need as much support as other autistic people. But I do think it's very important that everyone else educate themselves on autism so that they know what they're talking about when they say level 1 or level 2 autism. I hope this helps.